slow has in this on the path has two meanings. The slow that I've been pointing to tonight of for the process of awakening, where as you get closer and closer and closer to that gangplank, yeah, things do tend to slow down. And then you realize that our that the body has its own speed, and the speed of the body, of the natural speed of the body, is actually quite slow relative to the speed of the mind. And if you watch people who are disconnected from their bodies, their minds are pushing their bodies at the speed that their mind wants to go. And so you notice that there's a unnatural movement, unnatural rhythm, unnatural gait that they might have, some way that they're holding their body that is basically being held by the mind. But when you're relaxed back into the body, then it goes back to its natural dispositions and its natural slowness. And then there's nowhere for it to get and nowhere that it's worried about that it's been, and it's just here now. And so it naturally takes its time doing things. And this is really the, the true depth of what mindfulness offers and the true depth of what awakening is.
You just hit it on the nail for me with that comment. That's what I'm experiencing.
Right now?
Well, that's what I've been experiencing. Am I experiencing it right now? Well,
what do you mean you've been experiencing?
Just that the body is much slower than that. I need to honor that slowness and trust it.
Yes.
And that whatever I'm thinking it should be, or expectation or whatever, that often I find that I need to go slower. I just need to go slower. And sometimes when you just trust how things are going to unfold, they do go slower than what you had in mind.
Yeah, I'm working with that also, with wanting to do this work. It just unfolds the way it's going to unfold, and my thoughts and about it be damned.
But sometimes later you get these little affirmations about, oh, okay, it was all good, because now look, this person's shown up, and now it's all fitting into place, and I don't have to make it happen. It's just
I should be cautious here, and this is again, this is the blue collar element of the way that I teach, is that speed, that I'm alluding to, of the here and now quality of awakening. For me, as I know it with blue collar enlightenment, I get to be the slowest when I'm in a heightened energetic state. Like right now, it is beautiful. It's all slow to me right now. Everything is slow. And it's great, and I love it, but it never stays this slow. It's the same, my analogy with the flower, it's can be the quality of speed and mind and everything can also, it's the same analogy. So I speed up, when I'm not this, when I go back then my mind becomes, in other words, right now, everything is this sense of peace and integration and expansiveness is very, very forward. And so naturally, everything there's more of a fluidity and more of a slowness to everything. No hurry to get anywhere But when I go back to normal day-to-day operational awareness, which is still mindful, but it doesn't have the energetic quality to it. And so I'll speed up. Things speed up because mind moves forward a little bit. Ego moves forward a little bit. So you tend to go back, but never as much, to be clear here, never as much as before awakening, where most of the time you got your foot on the gas pedal all the time. You get your foot and you never let up on the damn thing. All awakening is you finally let up on it, and woo, you go way back down, and then but gradually you work your way back up to, you got to operate, so you work your way back up to 50, you're going 50% of what the speed is, but you're never like now at 80 miles an hour. So that whole speed, it's very, very, the talking about speed and slowness is, again, it's another seg into exactly what I wanted to talk about tonight. which is breath, body, movement, and motion. Um, um, the first awakening experience that I had was, for me, it was not an awakening so much into consciousness. It wasn't an expansive state. It wasn't an awakening into oneness. First and foremost, it was an awakening back into the body. And that body awakening then allowed me to feel into the rest of what is, rest of what I just spoke of there. But primarily, it was a a return to kind of an animal nature, and a return to the body. And that's what was astounding about it for me, because I had expected awakening to be purely a matter of consciousness, for awakening to be a pure matter of something that was more intangible. In other words, somehow this mind or this consciousness was going to realize some vast expanse, okay? And of course, we've touched on that, right? We do know that. But I had imagined that I was going to like hyper drive speed into the light limits of the universe, okay? And that was what awakening was going to be. Little did I know that actually awakening was in quite the opposite direction. It was back down into the body, because what that represents, the outward expansion, is still another. I'm still not wanting to be here. I'm still trying to escape, essentially. So as I know it, it was astounding. It was astounding to me that, oh, this is what awakening is. Oh my God, this is, the doorway into awakening are the emotions and is the body itself, and is included in the awakening. And for me, again, blue collar enlightenment here. Then I was like, okay, so now what is consciousness doing? Because I was not comfortable in my body, and I wanted that first and foremost. Now what is consciousness doing, and now what is awareness doing relative to these matters? So a very valuable method and practice and exercise that one can do while on the path of awakening is to look for avenues into the body, is to look for avenues of awakening into the body. So, for instance, Jan, when during the day, when you're battling your thoughts as opposed to how slow your body's healing from your injury, that's the speed that the body wants to go, and the avenue back into that natural feeling is the body itself. And I've come up with 3 specific things that are nothing new, but that allow us to go back to find that door to awakening through the body. And it's the breath. It's awareness of all of our points of our body, which we've done in body scans. And then the third one is actually movement. And movement we commonly see, of course, this is yoga that I'm talking about here. This is different though. Mindful yoga is much different than yoga, which is trying to improve the body, which is trying to strengthen the body, which is trying to heal the body. We're not trying to do any of that to the body with these movements, with the breath, with noticing the body. All we're trying to do is to accept the body the way that it exactly is, whole or broken, functioning or not functioning, diseased or totally healthy. We're trying to shake hands with it exactly, to meet it where it is, and to welcome it into the awakening process. So those 3 avenues, breath, body awareness, and body movement, are all avenues for us to say hello to the body with conscious awareness, to marry what we know about consciousness, what we know about awareness, with the body. We'll just take a minute in silence here. I've had some of the most sacred moments in my spiritual life and as a human being when I was practicing conscious walking while I was in the woods or on a path in the forest. Just exquisite. Exquisite. I can think of a few in particular where I was even with my family, my dad and my mom. Some mangrove forest and the beach. I just happened to be in an expanded state of awareness. And, oh my God, it was like walking in Eden. So this exercise of being in the body and moving it mindfully and consciously, there's a magic to it when you are able to completely integrate all of the magic to it. For me, it was astounding. It was astounding, the return of the body into, from separation. I remember when that happened, I wanted to rip off my shoes and my clothes and go running naked in the woods. Hippy dippy shit, but man.
It's not really hippy dippy.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you.
Being connected to your body.
Oh my God, yeah, I was like, it was a celebration of being, of return, but not what I thought awakening was. Such a surprise. Such a surprise. Such a surprise to me how out of my body I was. How far away from my body I had been. To return to it was a revelation. So one understands why there's a history and long time practice of yoga and of exercises that are meant to make that connection for you. It's just that my own personal route was integrating all of them equally without trying to perfect the body. It's more or less, I landed in my little old body the way that it was. And it's still like that today. It still has all sorts of, just like everybody here, has its ups and downs and positive parts and minus parts. And that's the beauty of the awakening that we know today. Doesn't require that. But those exercises we did as movement exercises were some of my own feelings. I can feel it right now of if we inspect the roots of Tai Chi and of energy flow and yoga, it will come back to the awakened body state and what it naturally wants to do on its own accord to exercise itself, to move, to flow. The body has a wisdom, in other words, a native wisdom that knows what to do. And for me, it felt very closely related to this conscious movement with no particular goal, just the beauty in and of itself of the movement as it is itself. And it was so powerful because I had been up to that point doing lots of yoga, which had a goal, many goals really, but never had I just experienced the poetic fluidity of the body on its own until that time. And it was as it's all of a sudden I discovered this Zen Tai Chi ballet master inside. That was like it was just utterly astounding. I just like I'm at a few moments that were so profound of again being out in the woods camping with a friend and I went off to do exercises in yoga and Tai Chi by myself and I didn't do it. The body was doing it. Jeff had nothing to do with it. It was the weirdest thing. It was like my body just spontaneously went into these movements and exercises that were like helping me to integrate this experience of awakening that I had, which was new to the body at the time. My body was like, in a way, freaking out from this huge amount of energy and expansion of consciousness, and it didn't know how to handle it. So the body said, here, do this. So I felt that I was impulsed like an animal that's dying or something to go off and be alone and to let my body do its thing. And I did that. And I was like, whoa, where is this coming from? Where is this? And that's just it. The body has this native natural wisdom and intelligence that knows how to heal itself. So I just started letting the muscles, it's like, okay, you need to do this. This leg needs to now come up here. And now this arm needs to go here and it needs to be pushed back in this position. Pull this leg back like this. You know, and I was doing all of these things. Okay, now gently let it down. Now do this. Now bring your posture back. Move this over here. That slightly that way and go down like this. And it was, I don't know where, I mean, it was complex. The instructions were complex. And no channeling going on here, okay? All I'm saying is that the body was informing the ego and the mind what to do and how to do it. So the beauty of, there's a radical awareness that you bump into in this process. At least I did. That was about the body, and then not enough can be said about returning to the body in this process. That's why waking down is called waking down. As part of it, and so I really super believe in that. I wrote something that I'm looking for earlier that yeah. Well, my first awakening experience had everything to do with the body being here and now, and nothing to do with time or space or consciousness. So I wasn't thinking at the time that when this awakening had that I was, well, it had nothing to do with time or space, for absolutely damn sure. Nothing to do with time or space. Consciousness, yes, but that was almost secondary just to the hallelujah of being back in the body. And certainly consciousness was expanded, or the feeling of returning to the exercise like what we had tonight, okay? Of feeling that. But that was really secondary. That was just secondary to the inhumanment that I was feeling. The animal nature of spirituality really hit me. That wow, this wasn't a disconnected, disembodied awakening. This wasn't consciousness only. It was embodiment. And through that, the feeling, the palpable feeling of consciousness bleeding into everything and everywhere. And that consciousness being none other than your consciousness and everyone else's. And so the gateway into that awareness is through the body. So that's where some of these exercises come from. And it's 9 o'clock now. If you all want to share, that's fine. Because he's at a point where there's no more that he could learn up here. And I sensed that, and I really appreciated that. I knew that he had gotten everything from he'd sat with every teacher under the sun. And then at the end, we got serious. I was like, "Thank you, Dan. It was so nice to have that email exchange," and he really enjoyed it too. And then I asked him some small question, and he kind of like broke down essentially and said, "I'm just like you. I read your bio, except I'm not awake, and I am so fed up with spirituality and so done with teachers and so just at the end of my rope essentially. And I've had this. The question is, why is consciousness here for just this minute, and then it's gone? I feel like I have it and then I lose it. And I've experienced consciousness itself and the witness position, and but it never sustains itself. It isn't enough. And what is wrong with me, etc., etc. And again, I really appreciated his honesty and his rawness and his just beautiful, willing to be self-deprecating, and honest and true, and intelligent, all combined together. And I just thought that it was really great. And I wrote him an email back that essentially was well, you clearly understand this stuff, and there's nothing more for you to learn. You have nothing more to learn. Your only avenue at this point for you, at this point, you only ever take tiny little steps anyway, because you've taken all the major steps. So this is where it becomes difficult, and this is why you're stuck. It's very common. You're only going to be moving in such small increments at this point that it's common to get stuck in this position for months and years or decades even. So your only route out of this is through your emotions. Your only way that you have out of this is through to find some emotion, okay, that kicks your ass, that you have to like guide yourself out of it. That this emotion might be for you, it might be sadness, it might be depression, it might be anger, it might be fury. But you need to get emotional about this if you want to take that small step. So I invited him to explore the idea that consciousness wasn't enough. That just knowing awareness is not enough to feel into the nature of the witness position in consciousness. It is not enough. That needs to come down into the body. It needs to be here in our hearts and our blood and our bones. I think something just clicked for him, because he sent me back an email like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I feel so seen. I feel so heard, and you hit the nail right on the head. And I knew all this sort of about myself before, but it was so nice to hear so clearly enunciated and so directly to the point, and without any trying to be the teacher, without trying to impart some sort of didactic, because I'm done with all of that." And I said that I hear you, because basically because I remember. Because I totally remember what that was like at that stage of the game. You're done, but you're stuck.
No more jewels of wisdom.
No more jewels of wisdom are going to do it. So there's an emotional part that you need to get involved with. That's kind of the general go-to. But it really, I felt like it really made me feel great. It validated it made me, it cleansed my palate of the awful night before. And B, it really, this guy was sophisticated. He'd sat with a lot of teachers and had been around the bush. So he wasn't going to take jack shit from nobody, and wasn't going to be hoodwinked into the next workshop with the next teacher that's coming to town. And not that is inappropriate, But it was not appropriate for him and where he is. And I think that made me feel really good that I just saw all that simply based on my own experience with the process. And I just basically went, this is exactly where you are. I totally understand where you are, and here's how you get out of this. Here's my suggestion of what you need to do. And I told him directly, you need to get angry about this. You need to like realize that consciousness is not good enough. It is not, if it's not here in your heart, if it's not in the body, if you aren't feeling it in your blood and your bones, and it's still a dry sentiment that you're working with, that occasionally might make you realize something about reality, it's still not good enough unless it's here. Because here's where it makes you humble. Here's where it makes you soft. Here's where it makes you cry. Here's where it makes you real. Here's where it makes you human. And I think that it really was a great exchange because we both got a lot out of it. Because I felt like, wow, okay, I am helping people every now and then. I am. Thank you. I felt like really just wow. And not just helping people that they've never heard anything about mindfulness or spirituality, but I'm capable of helping somebody who's been doing this for a long time, is sophisticated. And granted, it's just a small movement, but boy, when you are stuck in that space, a small movement is very helpful. And I remember that clearly. Like I feel like just for months I just couldn't move. I'm like, I want one thing to change, and then something would, and I'd be very grateful for whatever it was that precipitated that change. So